This 23-year-old life insurance agent sells over $20,000 every single month over the phone. And in this video, he's going to be breaking down how he does it.
Don't compare yourself to anyone. What I personally do, what I find to be the best, since I just know my numbers to a T,
the actual processes that he goes through.
One of the guys that I'm in business with, they kind of told me, the moment you can take the E out of emotion, it just turns into motion.
His daily schedule and how he scaled from $0 to $20,000 in less than a year.
It all starts with how you're going to start your day.
Adam, thanks for coming on the podcast, man. Talk to us. How did you even get started in the insurance space?
I don't really think a lot of people really want to be an insurance agent, but somehow the insurance industry always finds people that become, insurance agents. And that's kind of what happened to me, man. I went to college at the University of Nebraska, and I was studying clinical psychology, and I really thought that I wanted to, go out and be a clinical psychologist and stuff like that. But then some of my buddies, they actually came into the insurance industry and kind of were explaining everything to me, and how an amazing opportunity it was, and how they genuinely loved helping people out. And so, I mean, I tried it out. I studied for the exam. I passed it. And then ever since then, I kind of haven't been looking back, just been, trying to get better and better as the days go on.
Let's go, man. So you obviously got into the industry young. I mean, dude, how long have you been in the industry so far? Like less than a year or about a year?
Yeah, so it's coming up close to a year. At the very end of June, I'll be in this industry for a year, and it's been a ride. There's been
Yeah.
ups and there's been downs, but I mean, definitely, I made it past I can say confidently, I've made it past that year marker where most people fall off. So
Oh, for
I'm
sure.
excited, man.
What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned as an agent, like being in the industry for only like less than a year?
Man, dude, to be genuinely honest with you, man, I've learned a lot. I've realized that if you want to level up in this industry, you have to level up in many other aspects of your life. So, I
Yeah.
mean, are you just rolling out of bed, getting on Zoom, making, a couple phone calls, setting a couple appointments, doing a couple policy reviews within a week? Or what does your week look like? I mean, are you attacking every single day, giving it your all? For me, I know I talk with you about this a lot, but I'm a huge advocate on, small wins. So, and prior to being in this industry, I didn't really recognize it and didn't really give it that much thought and attention to all these small wins. But I say it's a very cheesy thing, because I feel like everyone says this when they're like, "Oh, what are some things you take away?" And just self development, man. My biggest goal in my life ever since I was young is I want to be a dad, and this industry has been able to teach me, to persevere through the pain. You're gonna experience adversity, but adversity, builds experience, and from the experience, you kind of mold who you are today as an agent. And so, always just being a student of the game, always wanting to learn, always trying to fix, um, figure out new ways to kind of separate yourself from everyone else. But yeah, dude, I would definitely say starting out your morning, making sure your morning is, you're stacking the wins, whether that's the gym,
Yep.
you eat a healthy breakfast, you go for, a run, you take a cold shower, something like that. Just get uncomfortable. So that way, when you're getting uncomfortable with all these objections and people, trying to, you know, overtalk you and all this stuff, you're already ready for it. And, you kind of stay calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah. You had an interesting story very similar to me where you're buying leads and doing all these things. Now you're generating your own. Talk a little about your like why you decided to do that in the first place to make that pivot, and then also talk about like how you like how like it internally, like how it's made you feel in terms of being able to either be more confident or like just like in knowing what your source actually looks like what made you pivot, and then why have you enjoyed it so far? What's kind of your experience been so far?
Great question, man. And to be real with you, I'm not gonna say here, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that I was running all these leads that were highly exclusive to me, and I was spending a bunch of money like a lot of people who did start out in this business. They would there would be some people that were, buying one lead for $95, and
Dude, yeah.
I granted, I wasn't like that. I would go from lead vendor to lead vendor, trying to see which one worked the best. And, there's always the same objections of I didn't fill anything out, or I've already got this taken care of. And sometimes the information was wrong. And it would sometimes just be a little, I don't know what word to describe, but it would kind of be a little disheartening because obviously everyone wants to make this business work. And when people start saying, "Oh, it's the leads, it's this, it's that," but I would say, ever since I have switched from running, super aged leads, like over a year or two old, it's a night and day difference. Not only do they remember filling everything out, sometimes they'll message you, they'll try to call you before you can even set up an appointment. They're very exclusive, they're very high intent. You actually talk to people who want to have the insurance, and they actually want to get a policy that makes sense for them, rather than, oh, I just want to see some numbers, or oh, I filled this out way too long ago and it's already been taken care of. And I truly think that this industry is going to go the way of kind of getting rid of lead vendors and just doing self-generated, which I think is amazing. Everyone should do that. I know we kind of talk about, you're your own CMO, you're your own CEO, so it's really generating your own leads. And my personal opinion almost has helped me with other aspects of this business. It's not just about selling. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
talk
that's a
about
big
those a
chunk of
little
it.
bit, right? So like you came in and you're a sales guy, and now like I've really seen the transformation of you really becoming a business owner. Like what are some things that you've really like learned about like just becoming a successful business owner since joining the community?
Yeah, dude. So kind of before joining the community, like you said, I was really just kind of just it was one direction, one sided. I was just focusing on, getting in contact with individuals, making sure they get a policy that makes sense for them and their family. Um, then when I kind of slowed things down, started generating my own leads, I had to kind of take a little step back from having to, sell from sun up to sundown. Now I have to worry about tracking my numbers, making sure everything is going right, making sure my margins are profitable, my cost per acquisition, everything like that. That I really didn't even pay attention to, nor really cared about prior. So I would definitely say once you start kind of focusing on that. I'm still trying to find, an even ground of, still being able to sell a really high level and, making sure all my numbers are always up to date on a daily basis. So kind of, I would say my numbers kind of took a hit a little bit when I was trying to kind of figure out all the other ropes and pieces of
Yeah.
business that I needed to be taken care of. But dude, I think, tracking numbers, automating things that you don't necessarily like to do. I don't think I've ever met a single person who thoroughly enjoys sitting down but behind their computer and dialing the phone 1,000 times a day. I don't think anyone wants to do that. And so being able to, generate leads at a low cost, and you accumulate a lot of them, and you can, say you get 10 leads and you can close at least one of those leads, and each lead is coming in around like $4 or $5. I mean, it builds up over time, and you're going to be very profitable. So, yeah, dude, it's been huge. Working with you specifically, getting a lot of systems in place for KPI trackers, um, AI robots, kind of automating a lot of the drip text messages, the underwriting, everything like that. Man, it's been a huge, tremendous help, and always trying to make sure everything gets better and better as the days go on, man. So
Yeah.
it's been awesome.
It's definitely a shift to become a business owner. You have to be tracking your data and understand and analyze. And I think it's really hard. Like I had to go through this huge learning curve when I just started of trying to figure this out. Like, okay, I'm told by these people to look at like track these numbers, but then how do I actually analyze these numbers to be able to make strategic decisions to be able to grow my business? Not only just grow it, but grow it profitably, because you could definitely
Right.
grow it, spend more money on leads. There's tons of people out there that are selling and at a really high clip, right? Like I did $100,000 in 1 month of written business, but I spent
Yeah.
close to $20,000 to do that, and then I just ended up netting less than what I did spending $3,000 and making 30,000 back, right? So I think
Right.
there's a huge difference, and I think this industry is interesting because people say they make all this money, but like, dude, like, just because you sold a policy, just because you wrote a policy doesn't mean you actually got paid for it. And so like the numbers, you
Right.
got to look at issue paid, you got to look at commissions, you got to actually look at what are your net margins, what are all these numbers mean,
Right.
and what does that look like? Cuz I remember one of our calls, you and I broke it down and you were kind of feeling, okay, I don't feel like I'm doing well, and I looked at it and I was like, you're actually doing really well, right? You're getting like a 6 to
Right.
8x something like that at that point.
Hmm.
I mean, all you got to do is just double your ads. And
Right.
I think like it's so easy to get in this feeling mode of feels, but like
Yes.
the numbers won't lie. Like talk about that a little bit about that shift to like relying less on feelings and more based on like the numbers and what they're saying.
Yeah, man, you said it best. I think it was either you or one of the guys that I'm in business with. They kind of told me, the moment you can take the E out of emotion, it just turns into motion. And if you
Yep.
can be in a flow state, you just keep going and going. Okay, you get a charge back. Okay, that's gonna happen. Okay, life throws at you a lot of obstacles, a lot of things you're gonna have to, hurdle and get over. Um, but yeah, man, like it's dude, I just it kind of baffles me working with generated leads and looking at specific numbers because, like you said prior to that, I was just basing a lot of out of emotion. But now I'm like, oh, no wonder why I'm feeling this way. I've only dialed the phone 90 times and it's 5 o'clock. What did
Yep.
I do with my whole day? Or okay, well, I don't understand. I've made 400 dials today, but like I haven't, like there's nothing to show from it. Well, okay, well, you now realize the reason why it's not necessarily based off of your dials. You've only been in, three presentations. You're not, the numbers and the ratios is something that you really have to drastically look at so that way you can get out of an emotional state and you can get in an analytical state so that way you're just basing your business not off of, oh, this is what I feel, but oh, this is what I know because I have physical proof, right? So I think, whether you're first starting out or whether you've been in this business for, I've talked to some people who've been in the financial service industry for 5 years, 10 years. I've known people who have been in it for 30, above 30. And they all kind of can agree with me on one thing that, if you can track your numbers and track and see how successful your business is going, that is going to drastically affect whether or not you take it up a notch and when to know to take it up a notch and scale and, put a little bit more money towards leads so that way you keep on, making more profit, making more money, but also sustaining your business, not overpaying and draining your account. So I think,
Yeah.
all of that stuff is crucial,
No,
like
I
you
like
said,
that.
and like you
I like that
preached.
you were what you were saying about that. One thing that about you that is very impressive that a lot of people should know is that you're very consistent as far as dude, like getting hat tricks like every other day or sometimes multiple days in a row, which is really cool. If you guys don't know what a hat trick is, right? It's a soccer phrase where it's like you score 3 goals, but we say 3 sales. It's a hat trick, right? And so you're very consistent. What plays into that? Like, how do you get so consistent? And also, what is your schedule as a top producer doing like, because you did what, close to $21,000 of issue paid last month? Like, talk
Yeah.
through how you're able to be consistent on a day to day basis. And then also, what's your schedule look like?
Right. Yeah, great question. And I mean, obviously, everyone's schedules are going to look a little bit different. I know last month it was a little different since, my girlfriend and I are kind of looking at apartments and all that other fun stuff, a lot of personal things going um, behind work. But man, it all kind of like what I said earlier, it all starts with how you're going to start your day. So if you roll out of bed at noon, well, you just had a whole first part of your day where you could have been, setting appointments, going, doing admin work, following up with clients, or even reaching out to individuals who submitted requests to you and even reached out to you to give them a call.
Yeah.
So what I typically do is, I mean, this is very cheesy. I think everyone does this, and I don't mean this to come off in a way like if you don't do this, then you're not going to have it figured out. But in the morning, I always wake up and the first thing I do is I want to get out of my mind and into my body. So I don't want to start thinking or go on my phone. So I go to the gym. I stretch out the body. I lift weights. I listen to a podcast. Now the podcast can really be anything. Sometimes it's a sales podcast. I love listening to Jeremy Lee Minor. Or sometimes it's also, um, I'm a big guy in my faith, so sometimes I'll listen to some podcasts on a message, or listen to the Bible in my AirPods while I'm working out. And then once I get home, I take a cold shower. I've been starting to do that. I mean, not only is there a lot of great health benefits for it, like your skin and everything, but it also wakes you up. Anyone who has high stress levels or gets sad easily, I know this industry can sometimes beat you down. I
Yep.
mean, I one thing that's helped me out is, cold showers. Sometimes I just take a little walk in the middle of my day, kind of get away from the computer, get out in the sun, refresh, restart. But yeah, no matter what, non-negotiable. I'm always on my computer at 8 o'clock in the morning, whether that's dialing or following up with clients who got approved and giving them their information, um, or sending out admin emails, anything like that. And then typically, by 9 o'clock, I try to have, everything that I may need to be done. Um, so I either normally start, calling at 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning if I don't have any admin work. And then I just kind of split my day up into kind of 2 different days. Well, not 2 different days, but 2 different sessions. So my first session is, I dial the phone from 8 or 9 in the morning until noon. And then between noon to 1, I kind of take a little breakfast break, go outside, stretch out a little bit, get away from the computer. And then roughly from like 1:30 to around like 6:37, really depends, is kind of my second dial session when I reach out to individuals who have kind of reached out to me. Um, and so I kind of just want to, I used to do it in a way where I would just sit down, dial the phone from 8 in the morning until 8 at night. And it's exhausting, and you got
Yeah.
to sometimes get off of the phone and go do something else. So that way you don't let your emotion get the best of you.
Yeah.
Cause, sometimes you might not think so, but clients can tell how, what type of emotion you're currently feeling on the phone. So we definitely say, one appointment didn't go the way you wanted. And you're going to a next appointment and you're bringing over that anger. Don't do that. So really, schedule is pretty, plain and simple, 8 in the morning to noon, and then take a little break. Some people take, an hour long, some people take 2 hour longs. Get away from the workspace, go do something else, come back, and then just hammer the phones, schedule appointments. And, some people like to do one call closes. I kind of do mine a little bit different. I'll sometimes do one call closes. Sometimes I like doing appointments so that way, both the husband and wife can be available.
Yep.
Um, Stuff like that. But I mean, really, it's just if you can just. It's not like for me, I don't have like each hour I have to be doing something. It's like okay, from here to here, I'm working, whether that's inputting KPI numbers, doing a bunch of dials, getting in a bunch of presentations, updating my, drip text messages, just deep focus attention towards my work for, 8 to noon. Then I get an hour break to just relax, you know, de-stress from work, then go back and then hit them again. And then since I'm a big family guy, I don't work until like 9, 10 o'clock at night. Some people do that, but I, thoroughly enjoy spending some time with my family. So I typically am done around 6:37, so I can, at least have some dinner with my family, and then, at least maybe spend a couple hours to an hour with them before, I go to bed, wake up, and do the whole process again.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So you're doing that, which is really good. And I mean, guys, there's so many different ways to be able to do this business. When you have the leads, when you're generating consistently, it's just a matter of being able to figure out what works best for you. Some people set appointments. Like there's a guy that literally like right as we were talking about this, he only sets appointments, right? And he closed like an $1,800 deal as we're speaking
Yeah.
right now. So it's like you can definitely do that and set your appointments, or you one call close, right? I found that it works best to be able to one call close when you can, but there are
Yeah.
certain situations that it makes sense to have as many people there around the presentation as possible. So maybe you get some family plans going. Maybe you have the husband and wife apps. You're able to do both, which is awesome. Talk about like what are your intentions for the day when you're dialing? Like, is the goal to hit a certain dial amount? Is the goal to set a presentation amount? Is the goal sale amount? Like, what's your thought process going into that?
I think that's a great question. Not only for an individual who's been in the industry for about like a year, but even for new agents. Because sometimes new agents, I know for myself, I was like, okay, if I'm not doing what they're doing, then I'm not doing it right, you know? And that's one thing that will quickly eat at you
Yeah.
immediately. Don't compare yourself to someone else. Someone might get it figured out before you get it figured out, or you might get it figured out before anyone else, and you might, you know, don't compare yourself to anyone. What I personally do, what I find to be the best, since I just know my numbers to a T, um, I don't like to do anything below 200 dials a day. And I mean, since I know my number breakdown, I can do 200 dials a day, which would get me into 10 to 12, people who I'll contact. So get on
Yep.
the phone. And then from there, I'll get in between, 5 to 6 presentations. And from those presentations, if I can get you in a presentation or if we have an appointment that leads into a presentation, my close rate out of those 5 to 6 presentations is anywhere between the 1 to 3 spot. So it really just kind of depends on how well the appointment went or how well the conversation went over the phone when we first spoke. But my kind of numbers that I track is 200 dials minimum a day, 10 contacts minimum a day, 5 presentations minimum a day, and then minimum of 1 sale a day. I mean, if you can think of it, just looking logistically and numerically, if you were to sell a policy a day, and let's say each policy is $1,000, that's roughly $365,000 of annual premium you just wrote. If you consistently do it every single day, and obviously there's some days you'll get 2 or 3, and the more you can compound, and once you can actually receive the actual payment into your account and then start getting the residuals, dude, you're just gonna compound all of that over time, and it's just gonna help you out a lot. But I mean, biggest thing I would say is my goals. If I get in my head, I get away from my computer. And then once I'm out of my head, I get back in my computer. Don't don't compare yourself to anyone. Um, Once you know your numbers, the numbers thing is the biggest thing. Is once you know how many calls you need to get into to get X amount of sales, that's what your goals should be based around.
Yeah.
And obviously, you don't want to over push yourself. Be like, okay, well, I know these. Now I'm just going to have to get into 1,000 dials, 40 contact. It's like, don't overdo it. Just obviously you want to make the most amount of money. And I mean, there's been days where I've literally dialed the phone 20 times. I've gotten 3 presentations and sold over, 3 different policies. There's going to be days that are going to be like that. And there's going to be days where, take Devin, for example, over 500 dials and, a goose egg, but that's just how the industry works. That's how every
Yeah. And
industry
then the
works. You're going
next
to have
day
good
it's
days
like
and
30 dials, two sales,
exactly.
6K,
So
something like that. It's
exactly.
just
So
crazy.
exactly. So, I mean, what your goals are set to be for how you want your life to be.
Yeah.
Do you want your life to look like this? Do you want it to look like that? Or do you want to go over here and work for this business? Like, only you will know the goals you want to have set for yourself if you sit down thoroughly, write it out. Like, what do you want your life to look like in 6 months, a year, 5 years? And so that's kind of what I had to do for myself. I had to do a lot of self introspection and kind of really figure out what I wanted to do and run my business the way I wanted it to run. And so one big thing that I did is I just started tracking my numbers so aggressively to the point, like, if I don't get a sale with one presentation, I'm like, okay, on to the next.
Yep.
But previously I'd be like, dude, I can't do this.
Yeah,
Like
if you
that,
don't track your numbers
you
and,
know,
you don't really understand that, one, you can't project well, right? You can't build out your projections the way that you should, but then also it's just easy to get emotional. It's so easy to just get in your head and be like, dude, I suck. I'm not doing the what I should. I'm not hitting the numbers that I need to hit. And the reality is like you're probably just either not doing enough activity, your banking info's bad, or like the way that you ask for banking is bad, your intro is horrible. You don't know the objections. Like there's little different problems that you solve as you track your numbers, right? And so track the numbers, understand what you need to do at each level. If you're not making the sales that you want, do more activity And over time, even if say you make two dials and you make two sales, but then you do 500 dials and make no sales, the numbers are going to even out and work themselves out. You just have to keep
Right.
working and like that consistency going, right? Um,
Yes, absolutely. Activity will always win at the end of the
yeah,
day.
so if somebody's wanting to go from 0 to $20,000 a month, just like you have. What are like the action steps like that you would actually like say like, hey, this is what I did, or like how I was able to actually get to that spot where somebody's able to consistently do $20,000 every single month?
Okay. Yeah, great question. I'm going to start out by saying this. You need to sit yourself down with a blank piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. And the number one thing you need to realize is, okay, you might have some friends in this industry, or you might know some people in this industry who have been in the industry either, less than you or longer than you. I don't want you to base your goals off of them, right? Because if you're not meeting their goals, then you're going to be mad about yourself, and maybe the goals that you are wanting to set for yourself, you would have already been hitting. So
Yep.
don't compare yourself to anyone. That will weave a lot of people in and out of the industry, and that's like it's sad because you might have been an amazing producer or an amazing insurance agent, but you let someone else define your business. So number one thing is you need to sit down with a pen and a piece of paper and just, no distractions, get the phone away, don't let anyone talk to you, and just write down, what do you want in your life? What's your goal? I know I said my main goal ever since I was a little kid is I want to be a dad. Okay, well, what do dads need to do? They need to be able to provide, they need to do all these other things. So okay, and that gets down to a point where, like, obviously, um I need to do X, Y, and Z. I need to be working X amount of hours, need to be doing this amount. So really just write out and structure what you want your life to look like. If you
Yeah.
want to be making $10,000 a month, okay, well, one way is, okay, say if we did $10,000 of profit a month, how many policies would you need to write? What would your average premium look like? Stuff like that. And then it's also like, okay, well, how do you want your morning schedule to look like? Okay, are you going
Yep.
to be going out to the gym first thing in the morning, or are you going to be hitting the snooze button, scrolling through TikTok? Are you going to be getting up, eating a healthy breakfast, listening to a podcast, maybe stretching out the body, doing a cold shower, or just, going outside, breathing in fresh air? Or are you just going to, sleep in bed until 11, get up, not eat, and then drink a Celsius, then you're not feeling good. And then by that time, it's 3 p.m., you haven't worked. And you know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
you got to be very intentional about what you want to get from this opportunity in the business, and also be extremely intentional with your time. Time is currency, and with currency, you obviously want to be spending it in the right way. You don't want to just be blowing it on something that's not going to be beneficial or have a positive return to you. So, be intentional with your time, truly figure out what is best for you. Figure out, okay, I would be comfortable making this. It's not a thing where it's like, oh, I have to get to where they're at because that's where they're at. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
That's where they're at. That's not where you're at. Where do you want to go? Be intentional. And the second thing is, um, you know, be surrounded with people who want to see you win regardless. Okay. So yeah, you might be having a hard day and you're like, you know what, man, if I can, having someone in your circle that you can go to and just be like, man, today has just been rough. Be like, this, and this is going on. And it's not like they're saying, oh, so what, put in $1,000 more, go run them. It's like, okay, well, let's talk about it. Like, how's it going? Okay. Well, let's look at this. Let's look at these numbers. Let's try to get to here, here, and here. And so, truly be intentional and aggressive with who you choose to be in your circle.
Yeah.
And then third, the last thing, I don't know if this is just me personally, but um, obviously I talked about the numbers, but one other thing is, like, I'm big in, I mean, I read my Bible every single day. And
Yep.
so, one thing that I kind of just started realizing is, dude, there's so much stuff that's out of my control that it's just like, you know what? Normally I would be the type of person like, I need to figure out everything before I do something.
Yeah.
Okay. And if I don't have everything figured out, I'm not going to do it. Now it's just like, you know what? God has a plan for me. I don't necessarily know what it is, but I'm going to keep doing everything I could possibly do, and that I can control at 110% every single time. So it's just really where you focus your intention, your focus, and all of that. It's the more intentional you are with what you're doing and how you spend your time is definitely be like a input output type thing. If you
Yeah.
focus your time and attention towards this and it's going to be benefiting you, your business and yourself, your bank account and everyone around you is going to be benefiting. If you're spending majority of your time messing around on TikTok, going out, in the middle of the day when you could be doing running appointments, just not doing anything, then I mean your business probably isn't going to succeed that much. So that's just really the thing you got to do is sit down, figure out what you want to get out of this business, and then once you figure it out, dude, get a game plan and just go. Like, don't have to know everything before you do it. Just do it, and you'll learn as time goes on.
Yeah,
I
bro.
mean, so it's just
I like that a lot. I really
yeah.
like the yeah, 100%. That's awesome. Dude, as we wrap up here, like what's some advice that you could give somebody that wants to be successful, that wants to go out and crush it? Like you obviously just dropped a ton of knowledge, a ton of wisdom, but like what would your advice be to somebody out there that is struggling or maybe on the fence of really taking that next step and investing in themselves?
I would say, kind of fall back to what I just said of what do you want to get out of your life? Okay. If obviously your friends are telling you to join this industry and you see that their life is being, positively impacted in it, okay, well, would it positively impact you if you join this? Okay. Then what you just got to kind of sometimes you just got to write everything out, the pros and the cons. If there's more pros than cons, what are the pros? What are the cons? Are you just trying to make up cons? Or are you just trying to make up pros? That's one thing. And another thing is, for someone who wants to be their own boss. A
Yeah.
lot of people sometimes think, oh, well, I can be my own boss. I can wake up at whatever time I want, work whenever I want, and I'm just instantly gonna get rich really quickly. That's you. I'm sorry, but you're gonna be in for a rude awakening. That's not the case. So what I would even recommend is if you're someone who's contemplating maybe coming into this industry, sit down with someone who's already been in the industry. And I would honestly recommend sit down with someone who hasn't just been in the industry for a couple months. Sit down with a person who's been in it for quite some time because they can tell you from experience what you will face. Because I didn't really know what chargebacks were until I got my first one, and then I was like, what's going on, so sit down with someone, pick their brain, figure out what they did when they first got in the industry and how that was able to help them, or truly ask the right questions to figure out your personality type and who you are as a person. You might not be able to mentally take it with people telling you to f off and all this stuff on a daily consistent basis. Like
Yeah.
that's going to happen regardless, but you gotta have mental toughness. You got to bulletproof your brain. You got to be intentional with your time. And you truly got to know what you want to get from this industry. Because if you're just wanting to come in this industry and be like, oh, like, I just need a job, I want to get paid, like, I don't really care what I do, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a job. It's like, no, that's like, you can't do that. Like, if that's the case, you can most certainly be in the insurance industry and there's other jobs you can do. But for this, like, you have to be intentional. You have to set a schedule. I mean, non-negotiables. That's one of the guys that I work with. He always talks about non-negotiables, and I love it because every single morning, dude, I don't want to take a cold shower in the morning. Dude, it's the worst thing to do. Like, why would you want to do that? But it's also extremely healthy, so I just do it. And over time, once you just start doing things and getting more consistent and sticking to that consistent schedule, you're going to be able to see a lot more deposits come in, a lot more business stick on the books rather than you having to chase them down, say, hey, this is happening, or hey, why didn't this go through? Um, so definitely as a person trying to look into maybe getting into the insurance industry, don't just get into it right away. Definitely look into it,
Yeah.
research a little bit because what you might be seeing isn't necessarily what it's going to be 24/7. So
Yep.
definitely that's something that I would recommend for someone who's, kind of a little bit on the fence of what they want
Yeah,
to
I
do.
completely agree 100%. Dude, where can people reach out to you and find you and ask questions about what you're doing, your process is, or just kind of follow you on your journey?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I have an Instagram. It's just my name, Adam Krupicka. And I mean, I know a lot of people since I kind of started working with you have been hitting me up on like direct message or on like Twitter or whatnot, kind of asking how I run certain
Dang,
things. You know,
Twitter.
I'm
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah, or what is it called? X now? I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah, man. I mean, I'm a pretty open book. I want to see everyone in this business obviously succeed. And if there's something that I know, I'm not going to be a gatekeeper and be like, oh no, I'm holding this to myself. You can't know. You know, I'm not that type of person. So I'm more than willing to help anyone out, just like you are, and you know, just like you have been with me, man. And I greatly appreciate that for you. You know, helping scale my business with self-generated leads. But yeah, man, you can follow me on Instagram. It's just my name, Adam Krupicka, or on Twitter, pretty much same thing. That's majority of my social medias are like that. But yeah, man, open book. If anyone ever has questions about kind of how I run my business, what I do, stuff like that, I won't hold back. So
Boom. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to the channel right now. Send this to a friend if you found it valuable, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.